I am a little bit familiar with year-round schooling, just in the fact that I know people who have attended year-round schools. Um, Though there are advantages in that hopefully kids would retain more from year to year if they're going to school more of the time. Disadvantages are a lot of people have to work. Students and teachers have to work during the summer. So if they never get a 3-month period to work, when do they earn that extra money? Because I know almost every teacher I know at some point in their teaching career has had to get summer job. And students have to get summer jobs. And if they don't have summer, when are they going to do that? So that's one issue with it. Another issue is going to be utilities costs, especially here in Arizona, when running the air conditioner through June, July, the first part of August would be very expensive. Where are we going to offset that? We don't spend nearly as much money on utilities in December as we do in July. So there are lots of good reasons for it. And if you want, since we're going to compare ourselves to the rest of the world educationally, the rest of the world goes to school for a lot longer than we do. We're going to school on a 19th century agrarian calendar so that kids could go pick crops over the summer. Well, not many students are doing that these days. So if you're going to compare us to students in Japan, you're going to compare our students to the Europeans and the Asians, it's only fair that students go to school the same number of days, and we're not even close to 180 days versus well over 200 for most of the rest of the world. But that's going to take money. And right now, there's no indication that people are willing to spend the money to do that. This is the only school I've ever worked at, and I've never interviewed at a year-round school, and there's no reason for it. It just hasn't happened.
I would work at a year-round school if it was any place but Phoenix, because I think Phoenix is too hot during the summer, and I think that I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I have family members who have worked in 4515, and they loved it. I think it's a great idea, but I think that the summertime here in Phoenix would be difficult to do 4515. I know that there's some of the schools have a block of time during the summer, like 6 weeks, that there is no school, and then they start up again at 4515. I think that it's possible. I would like to see what it would look like first.
Okay.
But 4515 allows people to retain more of their what they've learned in the classroom. I think it's because they get rejuvenated in that 15 days. So they work those 9 weeks. That's what time you get really run down and tired, and then you got 3 weeks off. And so you have an opportunity to recharge there. I think it's a recharging process, and I think that's a great idea. You know, that's a good question. I can easily be replaced. Not necessarily by a good teacher, but I think, in my subject area, there are lots of people who want social study teachers. There are social studies majors. But, I think that if a district doesn't want to pay for that experience that I have, they can replace me real easy. I mean, because there are lots of people looking for jobs in government or history. So yeah, I think I'm replaceable. I'm not sure it'd be a great idea.
Yes and no. As a teacher, I think a lot of people believe that I am interchangeable. But very honestly, my situation, a couple of the things that I do, it would be, kind of help me not be so replaceable. But I think the system believes that teachers are replaceable. Well, if you're talking about the year-round schools, as I am most familiar with them, they get breaks throughout the course of the year, so then they're not going to school for 17 or 18 weeks straight with a few days off for Thanksgiving or Veterans Day or so forth, but they're going to get a few weeks off. And so maybe that allows them to stay fresher for longer periods of time because they do get the breaks throughout the course of the year rather than just 2 weeks off at Christmas and a few days off at Thanksgiving and 1 week off in the spring. That's the only thing I can think of.
I think it goes the same way with teachers. They get recharged. They know it's like a new beginning. Oh, I could start all over here. And I think, especially here at Goldwater, you would have the chance to what's the word? You get started brand new, and you can achieve some kind of competency when you're here for a whole semester. And sometimes you get to a point where you think, God, I can't improve. I'm stuck. I'm so far behind. I can never get up. I can never pick up my score. I think that's true in many cases. But I think 9 weeks allows a student to see a shorter period of time and say, okay, 9 weeks, I can manage that, I can hang in there for 9 weeks and I can do better, and then I get 3 weeks off and I can start all over. Or if I screwed up, I can start again and get caught up in a shorter period of time. So I think it's a win-win solution. There has to be a change in attitude by teachers and by students. I mean, you have to get away from the idea that it's strictly about percentages. I mean, it's not here about percentages here at Goldwater, yet everybody still thinks it is. Students ask me, well, why did I get a C? I've turned everything in, I have high scores, and I said, but I'm not going by percentage. I'm going by whether or not you've accomplished the task and how well you accomplished it. I think every 9 weeks, 45 days, you can focus on things a little bit more and accomplish those competencies that we want. Absolutely. And I think it's lacking in the sense of one for money for education. And I'm not talking just, the funding isn't just for paying teachers well or paying beginning teachers, well enough to keep them. But that we have schools that have so much money because they're, for a variety of reasons, everybody has their laptops, everybody has computer labs, whereas, I have a computer that's over 10 years old. Is that a school computer? Yes, it is. But teachers have these. There are so many discrepancies and imbalances from school to school that's the problem that has to be fixed. You have school districts that are very wealthy and other school districts that are not, and nobody's attempting to really take care of it. Goldwater here is a Title I school, so we're getting some federal dollars. That helps us, but that's not the total answer. So I think that funding for education has to be improved, and it has to be a long-term fix.
Yeah. We lack lots of things. We lack, I mean, we're right at the bottom of per pupil spending. We are, the reality is, we do some really, really good things with what we have. We have incredibly high class numbers compared to other states. I have a friend that is a mentor teacher for an organization, and he mentors teachers all over the country. In the rest of the country, these teachers, they average about 24 or 25 kids in a class. Well, we're way above that in our high school classes. And so, yeah, I mean, that comes down to how many teachers we have. Other states will have more teachers than we do, which means they can have fewer students in their classes than we do. Yeah, there's some things missing. My sister's family has been in year-round schools up in Colorado, and they have, like, she had kids in elementary school, middle school, and high school, and they were on different schedules. And so they couldn't even take family vacations during the breaks because there was always at least one kid in school. And that seems kind of ridiculous, considering that they're in the same district and the schools aren't on the same schedule. I know coaches have a difficult time because you may have half your team on break in the middle of the season. And so that's an issue for sports teams. If the football team, if most of the football players don't go to school until the middle of September, but they start practice at the beginning of August, it's harder to get kids there, especially freshmen and sophomores that don't have rights to school. Those are just a few of the things that I know of with that schools have to deal with. Another example would be AP and IB testing. If those kids are on break in May, that's when testing is. So then that pretty much eliminates their break. Also, if they start school later, then they have less time to get prepared for those exams through the school year. And that's another issue. So there's lots of different issues that come into play here, and what's going to be good for one group of people may not necessarily be good for the other group of people. And our public schools have to serve the most people that they can in the best way.